Guys, welcome on my channel. My name is Sakani Kosa. I am super excited to be back with another beautiful video. On today's channel, on today's video, I'll be sharing with you my personal testimony of how God gave me a job just after fasting for 3 days. Right after 3 days fasting, God gave me a job. I'll be sitting today here and sharing with you my testimony, and I hope it blesses you and encourages you to still know that fasting and prayer still works, and God is faithful to answer your prayers when you pray. So if you believe in God for a breakthrough, if you believe in God for an intervention, I want to tell you that, you know what, prayer works and God is faithful to answer your prayers. So today, let's sit down. Let me share with you my testimony, my personal testimony of how God came through for me, and I hope it inspires you and it encourages you to still believe that God can do it for you. So if you've not subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe on my channel. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment on the section below. Let's engage. Let me get to hear what you would like me to cover on the next video. So today, let's sit down. Let me share with you my testimony of how God did it for me right after fasting for 3 days. I hope you'll be blessed. God says in his word that the plans he has for us, they are plans to prosper us. They are not plans to bring us disaster. They are not plans to bring us destruction. They are plans to prosper us, plans to give us hope. Why am I saying this? Because there are times in our lives when we encounter challenges, we conclude that it is the will of God. It is God who's bringing this difficulty in my life so that I can grow, so that I can mature for different reasons, whereas it was not God. Where did I see that? There's a scripture in the Bible where Daniel was praying for the 21 days, and the Bible says, and an angel appeared to him to tell him that, Daniel, your prayers have been answered since day one when you started fasting. But the prince of Persia, there were powers that were against your prayers. There were powers that are blocking your way. They are blocking the answers that you have received from God. So this means that we're going to need to have the spirit of discernment to be able to know whether this is the will of God or not. If this is really God wanting me to grow through this challenge, or these are really the dark powers trying to block me from experiencing the blessings that God has released in my life. And I want to tell you that it's not an easy thing to do. Even myself, I could not figure that out until when God revealed to me that it was not his will that I should suffer unemployment. So back in 2017, I was a happy bride to be. I was so excited that my season to finally get married to the love of my life was here. I couldn't wait to plan my big day. I was so busy with the preparations. I was going up and down, making sure that the wedding preparations are going very well. And right in the middle of that exciting season, I remember receiving bad news that I'd lost my job. That was a hit. I was excited on the other side that I'm getting a job, and on the that I'm getting married to the love of my life. On the other hand, there I am, I'm losing the job. And after having that, I've always known that I want to be a working mom. I want to be that working wife, the career wife. I knew that even though I've seen a lot of stay-at-home moms thriving very well in their businesses, and raising their kids back at home without jobs, I knew that was not the path that I wanted to follow. I knew that was not the road I wanted to follow. I wanted to be that career woman who's working, who's running businesses, who that modern type of a woman that you have in mind. So losing my job really shattered that dream that I've always had. So to me, I concluded that it was the will of God that I lost my job. So I remember when I got the news, it was hard, to be honest. It was hard, but because I had never lost a job before, and we have those scriptures whereby we encourage ourselves, where we speak positive, where you have to be positive. I somehow didn't give myself the time to to moan for my job, to cry for my job, to ask God why. I just concluded that it was the will of God. So I remember encouraging myself, telling myself that this will work for my good, and not even looking for a job, because I felt like that was His will for me to now focus on something else, because I was working in a total different industry that I was studying towards. I was working in the mining industry. So I thought it was God taking me out of that industry, redirecting me to a place where I've always wanted to work, which is counseling, because I was studying towards my psychology degree. So I concluded that it was His will that I lost the job. I concluded that it was God's will that I focus on my studies. I started my business. So during that time, I remember I didn't even worry about the job. I didn't even worry about looking for a job. I just focused on my studies and studying my business. But one day I got a prophecy. When I got a prophecy, so I'm somebody who doesn't like prophecies. Let me tell you that about me. I do not like prophecies because these days there are too many people who are prophesying, and you don't even know who's prophesying the truth and who's not. So, and the Bible did warn us about too many false prophets who will come to prophesy in our lives, and multitudes will be deceived. So I have taught myself not to be intrigued by prophecies. And I remember this particular time, I got a prophecy at church that, like, this prophet who was prophesying, he said that there is somebody here who lost their job early last year. This person was working in the mining industry, and God says we need to pray for you. When the word is yours, it's yours. But I just told myself that no, I'm not gonna go. I don't like, since I did explain that I'm not intrigued by prophecies. So I just stood there, but the person repeated the second time. Still, I didn't go there, and I saw a lot of people going to the front. When they went to the front, he started asking them one by one their situation, where were you working, all of that, but privately, not on the microphone, obviously. So I saw a lot of them going back. He was still looking for this one who lost their job in the mining industry. And I could sense I could sense in my heart that it was me. I could sense everything that he said, me losing the job early 2017, prior to my wedding, everything that he said, it was me. But because I told myself that I don't like prophecies and all of that, I just stood. I wanted God to confirm first if I should go to the front or not. So I remember eventually deciding to go to the front. So after asking them questions about the prophecy that he made, nobody was giving him the information he wanted. He repeated the third time. He said, you lost your job early last year, and God says we need to pray for you. I could not resist it. I remember taking a step to the front. When I got there, he confirmed it, that this is the person I'm looking for. And I stood there shocked, because the whole time I had concluded that it was God's will that I should not work. I had concluded that maybe he was redirecting me somewhere else. I was shocked to tell me how God was going to restore me, how God was going to give me back the same job I had lost. I was shocked. And to be honest, my thinking was transformed from that day, because I even started looking for jobs. I started applying, and then I sat down. I said, wow, God, so this is amazing. Like I was just questioning myself so many questions, that I thought it was his will. I thought the job I was working in was not really a good job for me, since I did not even study for, I never even dreamt to work in that industry. But there I was working, making a living, and it was such a good job. And I was hoping that maybe after graduating, then I would get my dream job, which is psychology, working as a counselor. But then after, but then God was telling me that He's taking me back to the mine. He's taking me back to the mining industry. So those of you who do know about mines, you do know that mining industry is such a broad industry. It's not only about working underground, it's such a broad industry. So I was also not working in underground, I was working in the mining industry, but different department, which was such a good department. So just like that, I started looking at myself differently and the plans God had for my life, and I started applying for jobs. And I had already started with my business. So I was doing the business that I'm currently doing. I was still starting out with it. It's an upholstery in a home decor business. So it was not even going very well. It was going very slow, and I could tell that with a little more capital, the business would just take off and be growing very well. So I started looking for jobs, and to my surprise, the first month of my attempts to look for a job were very successful. I got a call. I started getting calls for interviews. Same company, different department, but the best departments ever that I was really believing God for. So it was interviews after interviews. The problem was I could not secure an offer. I started attending interviews for like 6 months, writing assessments, but the moment I'm supposed to sign an offer, there's no offer for me to sign. A year later, I started asking God, you spoke to me that you want to restore me, but I can't see the results. Where is the job? What is really happening? And to be honest, I was starting to get more frustrated because although I had received the prophecy, but now I was starting to feel the pain of not working. I was starting to understand what it means when somebody says, I'm unemployed, I don't know, I don't have a job. Because without a job, life is very difficult. You can have all the ideas in the world, but without capital, those ideas would just remain on the paper. And with the job, you are able to fund your dreams. You are able to fund those ideas while working on your bigger dreams, the bigger dreams that you have. So I started feeling the pain of losing a job, what it really meant to not have a job. I started feeling that pain, and somehow the emotions that I suppressed at first when I first lost the job, those emotions were starting to surface. They were coming back to me as bitterness. They were coming back to me as anger. I was getting so angry. I was getting so frustrated. I was getting so desperate for a job. And then I started crying out to God and say, God, why? What is happening? Where is the fulfillment of your word? Because I was doing business, the business was not working. I tried to start routines were there, but I needed a breakthrough. I needed an open door that could make all the ideas that I was building every day, those routines that I was doing every day, to take off. The only thing that I needed was a job. The only thing that I was looking for was just that one breakthrough that would come and bring capital for me to then fund those dreams that I already had. I felt so stuck, and I could see that, if I don't do anything about this, I'm gonna get depressed. I'm gonna eventually get depressed if I don't do anything about this. So I did business was not going well. It was extremely slowly. And then I decided, okay, let me just find something that will keep me busy, something that will take me out of this house, because I was always in the house. The only time I was out, it was when maybe we were going out or going to the church, but something to keep me busy and moving was not there. So I needed something that would keep me active. I needed something that would keep me outside of the house and not to severely get depressed. So I got an opportunity, to mentor students. I was mentoring the first year students, and I was mentoring them. I was facilitating workshops for the whole year, and I was believing God that maybe that was an opportunity for me, that after that mentoring season, that volunteering period, then I would get a job. But still I did not get a job. So I did that the volunteering for the whole year, hoping that I would get a job, but still there was no job. And I was getting more frustrated every day. I was getting more concerned every day. I was crying out loud to God every day. So, but in the middle of all of that, I fought. I fought for myself. I really fought against depression to put me down. I kept on coming up with things that would keep me busy, things that would keep me active, and never allow myself to, you know, to get depressed even more. And then I remember I started a routine, whereby I was exercising in the morning, and then somewhere during the day I would start listening to the word online on YouTube. And before coming there, I remember I even started looking for jobs online, because you know those remote jobs, the international remote jobs that you can get online, that you can even do when you're at home. And I was getting scammed. I was always getting scams after scams. And then I decided to stop that. You know what? Let me just stop this altogether. God spoke, and I'm believing Him for a job. So you can imagine all the efforts of trying to get a job. You can imagine the business that was not working. You can imagine me volunteering. You can imagine me looking for jobs online, but still nothing was coming. The frustration was too much. I couldn't allow myself to just sit back and do nothing. I had to keep pushing myself. I had to keep pushing myself going forward. So I started with on YouTube. Instead of looking for jobs, I started coming across people who were teaching about spiritual warfare. But this time it was different. It was as if I had never had such teachings about spiritual warfare. They were teaching about midnight prayers. They were teaching about generational curses. They were teaching about a whole lot of things that I was experiencing in my life. They were teaching about setbacks. They were teaching about a lot of things that are really hindering people's destiny from a blossoming, and things that hinder us from going forward in life. So I was listening to people like Cindy Trim. Cindy Trim changed my life. She was teaching me how to command my morning, how to command my day. She was teaching me how to spend the entire day listening to what God is telling you. So I was listening to people like Cindy Trim, Derek Prince, Robert Clancy, Perry Stone. I was listening to those people. Priscilla Shire. I was listening to Priscilla Shire. And I want to tell you that my life was transformed. So I followed so much on Robert Clancy's ministry. I was following him so much because he was dealing so much with generational curses, with midnight prayers. He was teaching us how to do that. So I remember even going to his website, and I discovered a program that they usually do after some time, which is a fasting and prayer. People pray online. They fast with him online. He goes to the mountain, and they all pray. They all connect online. I started connecting with him online, and then I went to his page. It was 3 days. I went to his page, and I discovered a 3 days fasting program that was done long time ago. I got into it. I started reading about that. I got different prayer points there. Like, I got allocated prayer points for each day that was allocated, that when you want to pray for that, as you pray throughout that fasting, you use those prayer points. So there were prayer points that were allocated for for the morning, during the day, and in the night. In the night, I mean during the night, like after 12, from 12 and going to the entire midnight, between 12 to 5 in the morning. You pray anytime. And then I took that program, I did it myself. I started fasting and praying. The first day I took that fasting, I started fasting and praying. Wow, it was shocking for me to then experience praying again at 12 o'clock in the night for the first time. I had heard before about midnight prayers, people praying at 12, but I was not that detailed into praying in the midnight and what's the importance of that. But that website gave me the details that I needed to know about engaging in warfare prayers during the midnight. I took my entire fasting for that the first day, and then I also prayed in the midnight hour. When I got back to sleep, the dreams were different. I started having revelations through my dreams. I could see that, you know what, the fasting and prayer is working. I started having victories in my dreams, unlike before. On the second day, I took it. I could sense that really something is happening. On the second day, I only prayed in the morning. I prayed in the afternoon. When I was about to break my fast at 6, somewhere around 5:30, I got a call. And when I took that call, it was an employment call. They were inviting me for an interview. I was shocked. Because I'd never been to an interview for almost a year, because I was volunteering, and that entire year I didn't even get an interview invitation. I was shocked that my fasting and prayer worked on the second day. Wow, I was shocked. I was really, really shocked. I don't even know how to describe it, like how effective that fasting was. For the first time in like a year and a half, I did not get an interview, but this time, just after this fasting and prayer, I started getting answers. I got that call. They invited me for an interview. The following day, I continued with my interview. So because it was it was in 2020, in the middle of the lockdown, we did the interview online. So we did the interview on Higher View. I was still thankful. I could not believe what was happening in my life, but I continued with the fasting. I continued to pray, to declare the scriptures that were allocated for me on that program. I continued to pray. I continued to fast. And on the third day, I got assessments. To move forward with the job. It was shocking. It was so unbelievable. I could not even believe my eyes that was me. After so much frustration, after so much desperation for a job. And that's how I got my job. That is how I got my job. I completed my fasting on the third day, but I could sense in my spirit that I have to continue. But I got the job within the 3 days fasting, So that's how God came through for me. My life was transformed just like that. And that difficult season that I had been through for 3 years, I had plans that I had written down. I had routines that I had mastered, that I was applying in my life, that were helping me to keep going and not to get depressed even more. And that job transformed my life. That was the one breakthrough that I was believing God for. I remember when that job came, I had my plans down to start my podcast. I only needed capital to start, to get the right equipment and begin. I had scripts written down. I had a lot of things. And my business took off from that time on. A lot of things, a lot of doors were opened just with that one door. So I want to encourage you that if you are believing God for something, if you are believing God for a breakthrough, for an interview, I want to tell you that, you know what, fasting and prayer works, but there is a way in which you need to pray. You need to have specific direct prayer points that you use when you are praying, and you need to fast and pray. Fasting and prayer, it's such a very powerful, spiritual powerful tool that really unlocks our answers. So consider fasting and prayer, incorporating it with midnight prayers. Midnight prayers, I am telling you, you will never regret it. So if you believe in God for a breakthrough, I want to encourage you that fasting and prayer still works. I want to encourage you that don't just fast and pray. Have allocated prayer points that you keep repeating every day over your life, that you keep repeating on specific times where you are praying that, God, this is what I need, this is what I need, this is what I need, and God will come through for you as He did for me. So that's my testimony. I hope you were blessed. I hope you were encouraged. Whatever it is that you believe in God for, trust Him that God is able to come through for you as He did for me. I hope you were blessed with my testimony.